So those are the basic things that we have to get filled, like assessment year, taxpayer, and resident. So these are the basic details that we have to fill it out. And the next thing is nothing but one by one we are going through the various heads of income. So what are the various heads of income are there? What are the various deductions available? Everything we are going to see. So the first thing is income from house property. So the income from house property is dividing into the concept of self-occupied property and let-out property. Let-out property is nothing but the property which was given for rental. So first thing is self-occupied property. So the interest what we are first A. So this is the first box. If you do all the calculations, the final amount will shown in the first box. So income from self-occupied property. If suppose I have taken any loan for build the self-occupied property, I have to pay the interest, right, to the bank or a financial institution. So that interest have to be deducted from the overall income. Okay. Normally in the self-occupied house property, there will be no income received. There will be no net annual income, because as I am living in my own house, there won't arise any income from the house. So only the interest paid and the expenses, the municipal taxes what I have paid for the houses will be there. So no other income will be there for the self-occupied property. So the next thing is the income from let-out property. So once it is a rental property, automatically there will be a income from my rental property. So the annual rental value, the total amount of rent received annually less municipal taxes I have paid. If suppose it is a self-occupied property, the municipal tax amount will be less. If suppose it is a rented property, the municipal tax amount will be high than the self-occupied property, and that have to be deducted. And unrealized rent. Unrealized rent is nothing but if suppose 2020 to 21 is the assessment year, for the previous year of 19 to 20 is the year I am going to calculate the tax that I have to get paid, right? So in 2019 to 2020, maybe for the month of December 2019 to February 2020, if a person didn't pay the rent properly, that is the unrealized rent. For the unrealized rent, the owner of the house have to prove that particular action has been taken for the unrealized rent, like I have filed a case against the person, or I have contacted the person, I got any stamped document for the payment of 3 months of rent in the future date. Like that, any particular proof have to be submitted by the owner of the house to the government for the unrealized rent. Only if there is a proof, the amount will be considered as a unrealized rent. Otherwise it cannot be added here. Okay. So if suppose the tenant didn't pay any rental amount for a particular period of time, that is the unrealized rent. That have to be deducted from the overall income that was gained from the let-out property. Then if you add the concept 2 and 3, and if you less it from the 1 total revenue rent received, then you will get the net annual value from the let-out property. Finally, some deductions are there. That is nothing but 30% standard deduction. So why we are doing this 30% standard deduction is nothing but first thing, to reduce the tax money, government is providing this 30% standard deduction to all the properties, all the let-out properties. And the next thing, apart from the municipal taxes and unrealized rent, the house owners may spend for the house insurance, repairs, electricity, water supply. So like this, the house owners may spend a lot of money. So for that reason, the government is giving 30% of standard deduction from the net annual value. Then the house owner can also deduct if they have taken any housing loan for the particular rented house. So that interest can be deducted. So if they deduct all these, apart from the money, the pending balance was the income from the let out property. So this is the way income from house property have to be calculated. Okay. So the next is the capital gain. Capital gain is nothing but a government fee on the profit made from selling certain type of assets, including stock, investments, long-term investments or short-term investments, or real estate property. So if I am a person, I am selling any of these assets, I am getting some gains, right? So for that is the capital gain. The capital gain may be a short-term capital gain or a long-term capital gain. So if suppose I am holding the property and for a 1 year I am selling it out, or if suppose I am holding the property for 10 years, if so, because some investment bonds like that, it's a long term investment bonds, it may be, so 10 to 15 years maturity period will be there. So that is a long term capital gain. So after 10 to 15 years I am handing over the bonds and I am getting the profit. If suppose a land or a house, these are all a long term capital gains. So according to the period it will change the percentage, and when I am selling it, according to this period of time, the long term and short term will change. Okay. So these are the head income from other sources. So interest I am receiving from any deposits in a financial institutions or in a post office, or any other interest I am receiving from the shares. So that and all I can mention here. And the commission, if suppose I am apart from my professional and apart from my business, I am doing any other agent kind of work, for that I am receiving any commission, that will come under this head. And if I am received gifts or money through lottery or any competition I have received, through winning competitions I have received any money, all that have to be shown under the heading income from other sources. Okay. In the income from other sources we have to enter only the profit, not any other thing. Okay. So the major thing is the agriculture income. Agriculture income in India, it was totally exempted. Actually, we won't add the agriculture income even a single rupee in the income tax. It was totally accepted. Just I am showing it, but at the last it was going to be totally exempted from the income. If suppose I am a professional person, I am going to some work and I am earning money. I am having my own house, and I have two houses. So one of my house was rented out. So I am earning income as a professionist, and from my rented houses I am earning income. So, and also I am having agricultural land. I have laborers working on the land. So I am doing that business also. But all other things will be considered for taxation, but the agriculture income was totally exempted in taxes. Okay. So for example, here they are dividing two concepts, agricultural income and non-agricultural income. Non-agricultural income is nothing but income from poultry, income from beehiving, like sale of spontaneously grown trees. These are the various kinds of non-agricultural income. So first, how they are calculating is, they are adding the non-agricultural income plus net agricultural income, and then from the net agricultural income they are adding maximum exemptions. So exemptions, what are the exemptions we are having is, one by one we can see here. Life insurance premium price, that is nothing but LIC premium. If I have, I will pay yearly or monthly or quarterly. So that life insurance premium paid. And then annuity plans. Annuity plans is nothing but the plan that helps you to get a regular payment for a lifetime period after making lump sum of investment. Normally, our LIC people's helps to uh, invest the money for the investors, and they pay back the returns what they are generated from the annuity plan. And provident fund and PPF and investment in NSE. NSE is nothing but NSE NPS is a national pension scheme, and the NSE is a national saving certificate that are available in the post office. Through post office, we can get those securities, and this is a fixed income. The interest that was generated through the NSE is a fixed income, and also the people can get the tax benefits. The people need not pay any tax amount for the purchase of NSE securities, or the interest generated, the interest what they have received from the NSE. Okay, then contribution toward ULIP. So, and then mutual fund and United Trust of India, and uh, repayment of housing loan if the got person who have earned agricultural income. So if they have any repayment of housing loan, they that also can be deducted from their agricultural income. So, and tuition fees were paid for children. Then fire fixed deposit with post office or any scheduled bank, and contribution toward national pension fund or national pension scheme. If suppose I am an employee, so I am paying my pension scheme, so for that also I am getting deduction. And additional contribution, for example, the first line they have given up to 20 percentage. So if suppose it was above 20 percentage, that is additional contribution towards NPS. And then the employer contribution towards, because if suppose I am having my own land, for my employees I have paid NPS, national pension scheme, money under NPS, so that also can get deducted. And long term infrastructure bonds, and infrastructure bonds is nothing but for the it's a government bond that was made by the government for developing the infrastructure facilities. So they have collected money from the public for a long term period. The long term period means automatically it was about 10 years, so 10 to 15 years of time period. For the particular time period, the government will provide interest to the bonds. So for the interest and also the investment what they have made can get deducted. If suppose in the year of 2019 to 20 I have bought a long term infrastructure bond for 1 lakh of rupees, then 1 lakh amount I could deduct it from the agricultural income. Then investment under equity saving scheme and Suganya Samriddhi account. Suganya Samriddhi account is nothing but there is an account for a girl child. If suppose I am a agriculturalist farmer and I am having a girl child, I can invest up to 1.5 lakhs. That money is used for the child's education or marriage in the future. So if suppose I have earned a profit from any other business or my profession, I am investing that 1.5 lakhs to the Suganya Samriddhi account. I need not pay tax for the 1.5 lakhs. Okay, so these are various deduction available under the agricultural income. If you deducted all these, you need not pay any tax for the agricultural income. So only for the agricultural income, lot these of deductions are available. So a lot of medical claims are the donations for medical treatments. If you are severely disabled, so for that also you will get considerations. And if you have taken any loan for higher education, you are getting the deductions. And these are the various sections given, 80E, 80C, 80U. These are the concepts we can look into in the next recording sessions very clearly, because it will take a time of 40 to 45 minutes for explaining all these sections. That is a very important concept. It's a very important question. So like this way, the income tax is getting calculated. At the last, they will add the educational surcharge and